In this video, I'll be happy to present an overview of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act in as far as what you need to know when studying it in preparation for the SAFE exam. If you're interested in a much more in-depth review, there will be a link to a video in the comments that you can access. So in that video, I will go into detail about everything that I'm just going to present as an overview so you know what to study versus you studying the hundreds and hundreds of pages that constitutes this act. So in this video, I will provide you with an overview of ECOA's purpose and origin, applications, exemptions, definitions, disclosures, document retention requirements, and some general miscellaneous things with which you should be familiar. The Equal Credit Opportunity Act's primary purpose in a bottom line summary is if someone is qualified for the credit, they get the credit. Plainly and simply, that's it. If an individual is qualified for the credit, they get the credit. So technically, it's to promote the availability of credit to all creditworthy applicants without regard to any specifically outlined prohibited bases. And I will be reviewing those with you towards the end of this video. It was implemented via Regulation B, and one of the ways to remember that is that ECOA wants you to be fair to everyone. Be fair to everyone. And like its buddy RESPA, ECOA was enacted in 1974. ECOA applies to all credit scenarios before, during, and after the transaction. And that's key to understanding the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. It doesn't just apply for the transaction as far as who can we allow to apply. It covers and protects the consumer's rights before the application, leading up to it, during the application, up to closing, and at closing and beyond. There are 6 exemptions to which ECOA does not apply, and you should be familiar with them. I'm going to go over the definitions with you momentarily. By go over, I mean I'm going to read you what you need to know, and then I'm going to give you a resource at the end or access to a resource that will go over the specific definition of those definitions. Disclosures, document retention requirements, and some general miscellaneous things. I will guide you accordingly. So here are the definitions with which you need to be familiar. And again, I am not going to define each one of these because I simply do not have enough time to do that in a relatively short video. But like I said, at the end of this video, I will give you access, or I will give you a method to getting additional information. So account, adverse action, age, applicant, application, business credit, closed-end credit, consumer credit, contractually liable, credit, credit card, credit transaction, creditor, discriminate against an applicant, elderly, empirically derived and other credit scoring systems, extend credit, good faith, inadvertent error, system of evaluating applicants, marital status, negative factor or value, open-end credit, person, pertinent element of creditworthiness, prohibited basis, self-testing, state, and testing. There are 4 ECOA-related disclosures with which you should be familiar. The Notice of Action Taken, or NAT, that's the document that goes out when the loan application has been approved. The Adverse Action Notice, the document that goes out when the application is being declined. Notice of incomplete application. When time is up, the lender has to issue a decision, but we don't have enough information from the borrower to say yes or no. And then the right to copy of appraisal or written valuation in accordance with the ECOA valuation rule. So with these disclosures, you should be familiar with what's on them, what their purpose is, and when they must go out. Document retention requirements under ECOA apply to applications, existing account documentation, self-tests, and pre-screen solicitations. Be familiar with those. You should also be familiar with the actions of testing and self-testing. Very important to know that not only for the SAFE exam, but for your own career as well. redlining versus reverse redlining, predatory lending versus subprime financing, no disparate treatment, overt discrimination versus covert discrimination, the law of agency and steering, know the definition of caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, inappropriate processor and underwriter activities, and conflict of interest, dual capacity. These are all important concepts under ECOA with which you need to be familiar. General rules about discrimination, discouragement, foreign language disclosures, and rules concerning the evaluation of applications. And what that means is any information that the loan originator or the lender receives from a customer in the completion of an application cannot be used in a discriminatory manner against them. There are 11 prohibited characteristics which not only cannot be used in the rendering or consideration of a credit decision by the lender. In all actuality, outside of certain exceptions, the mortgage professionals can't even discuss these characteristics with an applicant or potential applicant. Race, color, nationality, age, with exception, sex, including gender, sexual orientation, and sexual identity, religion or creed, marital status, again with exception. If the individual has received consumer credit counseling, that cannot be held against them, nor can earning public assistance be held against them. They still have to qualify, of course, but if they qualify, the fact that their income is coming from public assistance cannot be a determinant in saying yes or no to their application. You cannot consider whether or not the individual who has applied for financing has previously exercised his or her rights under the Consumer Credit Protection Act. Whether or not he or she has can have no bearing on whether or not you approve that application. And finally, the intention to bear offspring cannot be a consideration when considering someone for credit. Now, if you are interested in a link to a website where you can get specific definitions of those definitions, simply send me an email at the email address you see right there, and I will be happy to send it to you for free. So to recap, in the comments is a link to a video through which I go over this in the detail you need to know beyond just an overview. And if you send me an email, I'll be happy to send you a link to the page where it goes over all of the definitions and gives their actual meanings. So hope that helped. Good luck.